Whoa, it's Wulzy. Welcome back to another Geometry Dash building video. Now today is very exciting because RobTop just posted some new stuff about 2.2. I have a video file here sent by RobTop in the official Geometry Dash Discord server that shows a very interesting block transition that is extremely customizable according to Rob, which is extremely good news because as you can see, this is really nice for platformer mode, going back and forth and the blocks like transitioning accordingly, and you can see the speed of it and everything. Oh my goodness, it's so cool. I want to try and create something like that with the scatter on these objects and also the way that they kind of shimmy. Now obviously I don't have the luxuries of the transition system and the particle system, but I can try my best to make like a toggle trigger animation. This is going to be a very strange style of video to make, so drop a like and subscribe if you enjoy. I'm going to be using the song Pathfinder by Cubby, and I'm going to set down my default block right there. Now I'm going to be using the 3D lines to create fake outlines for this object. The most reliable way to get them on track is to place them to the opposite side that you need and then just move it 10 steps like that, and I can slip that in and you can see it perfectly matches the line on the grid. Then I just copy paste and rotate. So we have a box identical to this. Then I'm going to add the thick glow right here on black, which I'm going to use color channel 9 for, and I'm also going to add this slightly less thick glow object on top like that. Then I just slip it on the inside and we have a very similar looking object here. It's almost higher quality because if you look at the dithering on the left block, there's a lot more grain in it than this one. Now the thing is, this will not kill me if I touch it, so I can just go straight through it. So what I need is this object on top with a group 1, which I'm going to set to invisible using an alpha trigger real quick like that. Then I'll take a copy of this object and place it right on. Then I'm going to go enable link controls and select all of it together. So now I have this object, which isn't quite a real object, but it's going to kill me on touch. Now I'm going to use this other object that I've placed to create some frames in a little animation real quick. Using groups 2 and onwards, I can rotate this very slightly and scale down, incrementing the group with every object, and that's basically going to create me some frames that I can use for this object, just like that. Now, if I don't scale hack, that's pretty much my limit. I'm going to set myself out with some really simple gameplay as well. Nice, okay, that's as far as I'm gonna go for now. It's occurred to me that the original object also needs a group, so I have this really awkward pattern of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. But anyway, let's get to my toggling. 7 needs to be toggled on last. That's the block that I'm gonna be landing on. It needs to be normal by the time I get there. Then I can just work my way up. This object that my mouse is on is number 2, so we activate it at that point, and then we can just increment all the way up to 6 like so. And I'm gonna have to have all of these toggled off at the very beginning. So as I play the song, these appear one by one, but I want to have them turn off when the next one is toggled. So what I do is I copy these triggers as I've just done, move it one to the right, delete the final one because I want it to stay as that full block, but then we just toggle that like so. So we should have a nice little animation right there, which just makes this get slightly bigger. I'm going to link each layer together separately so that I can easily select these if it goes wrong and I want to change stuff. But I'm going to stack these on top of each other like so. So you should see that this object gets bigger like that. You see? Smooth, right? Okay, so I've moved the blocks and the triggers onto a new editor layer number 1, which is separate from the regular blocks. I've just realized that these toggle triggers also will have to do the same thing. I'm going to link all of these together, and I'm going to be using something called Build Helper, which, if you'll notice, has changed all of the numbers on these triggers to brand new ones. It's a copy pasting method, which is automatically going to change all of my group numbers so I can have a brand new effect when this block is placed. I'm going to disable link controls for just 1 second, and since this object is on the same y-axis position as the one that needs to be below it, I can just copy paste it straight down. There's a slight bug in the editor where you need to pause and unpause for some toggle trigger effects to actually show up properly in its accurate view. Basically, in the editor, this gray line that my mouse is on, you may notice it whenever I'm in preview mode in my building videos. That basically shows you the exact position that you are at when you're viewing the level. You see, as it goes through the middle of this trigger, if I turn on effect lines real quick, you'll see the actual trigger lines when they start happening. As soon as this gray line crosses the blue line, this block gets bigger. I like to keep effect lines off because it's much cleaner to look at in the editor. This video is probably going to show you the importance of getting your effect right before you start build helpering. Because I've had to severely backtrack on myself just to add a single movement that I can copy paste over and over again. For group number 8, I am going to add a move trigger, just like that. It's going to be about a second long, and it's going to go a couple of blocks before any of the toggle triggers happen. And we're going to say this is going to move 4 blocks to the left and 3 down. And I'm going to align the duration line, which you can toggle on from the extra options right about here, just to the very edge of the final toggle trigger. So that block is going to start moving down towards a spot, but it's moving to the wrong spot because we haven't actually changed its starting position to match what we've set out. So I'm going to move this right at the very beginning of the level. We're going to make it a 0-second move time, and we're going to make these values positive. So we're going to offset it to the point where we want it. So as it appears, it's going to shift down like that. That looks pretty cool, right? Now, here's another thing. If I give this block a center point, which I normally use a circle for, I'm not sure why, it's just a force of habit for me. If I give it the moving group and I give it the center ID, number 9, we can also set up a rotation for this. 8 around the center 9 in 1 second, ease in out the same as the move trigger. We can rotate it 90 degrees or so. And as you'd expect, we would need to initiate this rotation by just offsetting it -90. So now this object is going to fly down towards us and rotate, which I find pretty interesting. And we can actually have a custom exit too. If I continue this whole mess of triggers that I set out earlier by toggling 7 after we leave the block, which I can do by just copy pasting and flipping them the opposite way, getting rid of the 2. I've got to make sure that these triggers are actually toggling after. So again, it's just a case of toggling something on, then toggling it back off immediately as soon as that next number is ready. So we have our little rotation like that. So it's going to start shrinking again. There we go. I'm actually going to set this rotation to 180 degrees, and I'm going to double the movement time. So hopefully, as we get to this object, because the duration line at 1 second was right on it, it's going to be at the 90-degree point. I am correct. Okay, that is cool. So at that point, we can now set this object away. I'm going to say 3 blocks to the right, and I'm going to say 8 blocks up in that same 1 second movement. So hopefully this is going to start flying up like that. That is so cool. What? Oh, it does kind of move as I get there. So I'm going to extend these triggers outwards a little bit. So at the exact point I'm landing on it, it's not moving. What? I guess in this spot, we can just have an invisible block where we know it's going to be. That would definitely make the gameplay less buggy for sure, instead of trying to move it around. Because remember, anything other than that invisible object is totally fake and does not affect our gameplay at all. So we can do whatever we want. Okay, so now I think I am finally happy with my movement and my toggle effect on this block. So let's link the whole thing together. I briefly disabled link controls just so I could mess with a few specific triggers. That's something nice you can fall back on if you want to keep something linked, but you need to make a tiny little change. Then I can continue with our build helpering process right here to create our blocks that are going to fly away after we... Oh my god, that's so cool! I'm going to trace every single object that I've placed, as long as I don't copy anything on the y-axis. Oh goodness, this is quite a mess with triggers. I'm going to do a quick little cleanup session by disabling link controls once again, and custom selecting using something called select filter and the custom delete button. And these two things combined basically let me just fish out any rotation triggers I've placed, and I'm just going to send them upwards like so. As long as I don't move them on the x-axis, I will be fine, because the x-axis is what's actually going to change it. Okay, boom. I cleaned it. I can turn on link controls once again and continue my business. Now, I will admit, this does use quite a lot of groups. There will be a way to reuse these groups by finding a specific coordinate that you know a block's going to be on and just sending it to that spot. Say after this block has disappeared, I could technically just grab this and say, hey, move 400 to the right, and I could reuse that object. But oh, okay, that is a discovery that I did not want to make. I was trying to be cheeky and just reuse the same groups for anything that was on the same y-axis. You probably heard me explain it earlier. But now that we added a rotation, I can't exactly do that anymore, because if there's more than one center on a block, the rotating object will just get confused, which means that I need to use a ridiculous number of groups just to make a single pillar of objects like this. But I'm gonna keep doing it because this is just a test little level. My next free group is 300 187. I've used 3,000 objects. Like, this isn't viable for a level, but it looks cool. That is genuinely unfortunate. So, even if you think you know it all, like me, and I've got it all explained and all figured out, it can definitely slip out of your fingers. So let that stick in your mind whenever you're trying to make an effect and it's not going to plan. My final touch is going to be to select every single object and turn off fading and entering. I'm just saying, since I've got my own custom transition, it's not something that I should have on top of that. I should just leave it like this because it looks cool as it is, and I don't want to mess with anything that's like slightly out of my control. But that looks cool as hell. I'm so happy with that. Very simple, but very cool at the same time. And the gameplay is unaffected. I mean, I could definitely add some indicators of where the blocks are going to be. If you want a good example of that, maybe if I turn off preview mode, go to the second editor layer where nothing is there, and just set myself up with some 10% opacity invisible blocks that just sit underneath everything on B3 maybe. You may have noticed in that cut that I instinctively clicked don't fade and don't enter, and this is an instance where you might not actually want to do that and you want to have the block transitions there because they're really harmless. If I have like the rising one there, here we go. We have our indicators in. They're transitioning on their own. And then I've got the custom transition on top. Damn, I like this. This is cool. I'm very excited for 2.2 and I can mess with that because I love effects, as you know. Yeah. Thank you for watching this Geometry Dash 2.2 speculation building video. I am so hyped. Check the links in the description. Leave a like and subscribe. And have a good day.